Welcome to Crankworx Whistler. It is day one and I want to get you right into it. We're going to run around the village. We've got till 6 p.m. to find as many classic bikes as we can. Now why classic? That's because I want bikes that are pre-2004, ideally that outdate Crankworx itself. Let's go see what we can find. Well, we've found Eddie and his outstanding Rocky Mountain Flatline. Eddie, tell us a story about how you got this bike in the first place.
Oh well, I've been running the bike park since it opened, and I've had my own bikes before, but one day at the end of the season, walk past Summit Sports, and they have all these rentals on sale, and I checked, and yeah, they look great. And
perfect.
What I wanted, so yeah.
And it looks. And have you had to do anything to it since you bought it?
No.
How many years ago was that?
6-7 years ago, yeah. So yeah, it's been great, yeah.
Perfect park bike.
Uh-huh.
What do you think you need to do to it next though? You did just tell me you've taken it to the bike shop just moments ago.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna need some new tires. Those are pretty worn.
I reckon you still got a bit of life, a couple of laps.
And the rear derailleur, actually the little wheel down the bottom, it's cracked, so I need a new one.
Yeah, it still works, it's okay, but how are you going to go about, you've got the 26-inch wheels.
Yes, yeah.
You think you're going to be able to find 26-inch tyres these days?
Yeah. I know they're kind of out of fashion now, right?
Perfect. And what's your favourite part about the bike, Eddie?
It handles pretty well, you know, it's pretty stable. The shocks are great, you know, so no complaint. I'm not a bike expert, so whatever feels comfortable to me, that's it.
You got pretty narrow handlebars.
Yeah, I'm not a big guy, so that suits me well.
Perfect,
yeah.
And you got the bomber forks.
Mm-hmm. These are the original shocks.
They just keep going.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thanks very much.
Well, thanks very much.
Cheers.
Okay.
Beauty. Well, we've found Nick in this beautifully disguised 08 status. Nick, tell us the story about this absolute beauty here.
This beast here, so it's my mate's actually, it's not mine. He's fresh off a collarbone injury, so he's been out of the park for a couple of weeks. First day on the park today, and his back brake went. So currently rocking no pads in the back.
He's broken his collarbone. First ride back in the Whistler Bike Park, he's decided to not have rear brake pads.
Yeah.
This is not any other specialized status. What's he done to it?
It's an 08 status. He's given it complete paint job to look like a Formula One car. Formula One Renault. It's got the fork, custom decals all over. All the same sponsors that the real car has.
Tell us about this fork setup and wheel, because it looks like it's a bit rinky-dinky.
Yeah, so it's obviously a fork for a 26-inch tire. He's put a 27 in here, shaved down up there. And the best part, he can't even run new tires. He's got to take the old tires off our demo bikes.
Because it doesn't fit.
So the knobs are a little worn down so it doesn't rub in there.
That's so good. Well, he's gone for a new age mullet on an old age bike. Who did this nice little bolt job?
That was him. He does all his own work. Just found some random bolts laying around.
And he's also running the single speed drive chain for the bike park. Less really is more. He's also made good use of zip ties for the chain silencer there.
Yeah, well, if a bike this pristine, you got to keep it in good shape.
Yeah, I can tell. You've made the disclaimer it's not yours.
I wish it was.
I kind of wish it was too.
Yeah.
Maybe if there's some brake pads in there, I'd like to take it for a ride. See how this, I don't know, what's the word like?
Rig
handles.
car, actually.
Yeah, sorry, race car handles. All right, we've found the man behind the bike. Tom, welcome.
Thank you very much.
First question, why Renault?
Well, when I was growing up, Fernando Alonso, he was my hero, and he drove a Renault, so now I'm driving a Renault on the mountain every day. You know, she's not as fast as she was in 05 and 06, but you know, after a couple championships, she has her wear and tear.
Look, I mean, she's aged with beauty, but tell us the other question we had, what's the fork?
Well, really, the left side of the fork is the 2006 championship and then the 2005, but actually, if you look really closely, you'll notice it's a RockShox domain.
Ah, that's a real beauty.
You really have to look at it.
Okay, and then what's your favorite part about this bike?
My favorite part is probably the fact that I had to Dremel out the crown here of the fork to mullet this rig.
I've seen the makeshift mullet. I love it.
Yeah, I guess the saddle, the bars, and the stem, but other than that, it's like she was when she rolled out in 2005 on Circuit Paul Ricard in France. Yeah, this is my baby.
So I'm so glad we found this and you. Thank you very
Oh,
much.
thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Love
Happy
it.
Crankworx.
Happy Crankworx. Well, we've found Kino and his beautiful Specialized big hit. Mate, how long have you had this one for?
Oh, this summer is the first time.
And you just told me it's your first summer riding.
It's my first time ever.
How did you get this bike?
Marketplace, Facebook. Like everybody told me all the bikes were so expensive, blah blah blah, and I was like, "Fuck, I want to buy a bike that is like a car, you know?" So I started to look in Marketplace, and I honestly bought it for the price. I didn't even knew about this bike.
How much did you get it for?
450.
That's so good, dude. That's unreal. And do you know what year it is originally?
I think it's 2008, but I'm not sure.
2008, yeah, somewhere around there. I'm sure someone will let us know
Maybe.
exactly. Not quite as old as Crankworx, 2004, but that's okay. What have you had to do to it since you bought it?
I changed the gear thing.
Okay.
It was not working.
Yep.
The handlebar, it was very small, very short.
I can see you've got 800mm wide
Yeah.
tidal bars there, perfect, but you've kept the original grips on there.
Yeah.
And then you've got not a bomber fork, a pommer fork.
pommer,
A
yeah.
pommer fork. I love that.
Actually, I had trouble with that when I was looking in the internet looking for this. I was Masorki Pommer, and I didn't find anything.
And you're like, what the hell's a Masoki pommer? That's epic. And the seat looks original. I wonder how old these tires are, 26-inch tires.
These are the original ones, like the ones that came with me. I have changed this one twice already.
Yeah. But the back you've kept.
Yeah,
That is
one
so good.
survives.
Anything else you want to change? Or just run it as is?
No, really, I'm happy with it. Like,
That's so
for
good.
me, it's the best bike I have ever had. That is for sure. Like before this, any other bike that I had was normal bike, you know, not suspension or anything like that. So I think it's awesome.
Kino, that is awesome. First bike, a big hit one. I think a lot of people watching will love to see that.
Yeah.
Sweet, bro. Have a great Crankworx.
Yeah, thank you.
See you around. Thanks for the time. Well, we've found Rich and we've finally found our bike that's older than Crankworx, this beauty Schwinn 4-banger. Rich, where do we even start on this thing? When did you get it and how old is it?
I got it a couple of years old, but it's 1999, 2000, thereabout. I don't know exactly. But yeah, it's a Schwinn 4-banger. You can turn it into a straight 6 if you change the shock, but otherwise it's 4 inches. I just kept it as is. The shock's not original though, but you can lock it out, so that's kind of good.
So let's start, what is original on the bike right now?
Cranks, the forks are 2001. Chris King, well, they haven't really changed in 20 years, they're still the same. The Thompson may be a bit new. The carbon bars are still the same, so they're super narrow. The Hayes Hayes Huggy hubs and the D321s are original. So yeah, well, original time frame, but maybe not original from the bike. They're a bit more DH, but
And the saddle as well?
yeah, I need to replace that. It's coming apart.
No, that's okay. And now let's talk about these shivers, because they're like finding a needle in a haystack these days.
They're really cool. The lockout still works, so you can run it completely stiff. They're a bit scuffed up, but I got another pair that are mint condition, but their internals are knackered, so I'm going to combine them and make one perfect pair and one spare pair.
Yep, and you're still obviously using this bike, I can tell by the Mac ride.
Yeah, so it normally has a Mac ride on it, so that's why it's got the crazy long steerer tube. Partly because I didn't want to cut down the steerer tube, because once you do that, you can't go back again.
What other thing to the drivetrain did you have to do?
It's got an X9 shifter with an EXO rear derailleur. The only thing I had to remove the jockey wheel from there because it made the gears skip, so I kind of haven't got that around. But I'm not taking off any crazy off-road stuff, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah.
This is awesome, and the pedals.
Yeah, well,
Tell us about them.
I can't ride old pedals, and I own a pedal company, so that's why I've got my own pedals on this.
That's what works. Rich, thank you very much for showing this really incredible bike.
Yeah,
Cool. Have a great rest of Crankworx.
thanks.
Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Well, we've found Whistler local Jordan and this unreal Cove Shocker. Jordan, tell us a story about how you got it.
I just got it off Facebook Marketplace actually, but I think the bike has done the rounds. I got it from another girl. She rode it her first year and now she's going back to Australia. So she sold it to me, and yeah, but I've met people in the line who are like, oh, I saw that bike like 5 years ago. So people always recognize that. It's like, yeah, it's pretty recognizable.
And when did you get it?
Just this year, like in April. This is my first year biking, so
Awesome.
Yeah.
And what have you had to do to it since you got
I
it?
put some work into it. The shock is not in like the best condition, so I got it serviced and I did some work on the brakes and stuff. So I don't know how long it'll last me. I want to keep the frame if I can. I'm gonna try and keep it going, but it's hard to get stuff for 26s. So
Yeah, I was about to say, look like you got some pretty fresh tires on there.
yes, yeah. So it's not too bad. Like I put some money into it, but.
And what would you say is like the favorite part right now?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of love that it's pink, even though that's silly and superficial. I kind of put my whole like look together.
It stood out to me from across the other side of the lift line there.
Yeah, I get lots of compliments. Like, bike people love it, non-bike people love it.
Yeah.
I also like that it's small. Like I'm not super tall, and like I've ridden my partner's like 27.5, and it just felt so big. Like I like that it's small and kind of like snappy, and yeah.
What other little custom touches have you made to make it Jordans?
Those were actually all on it. I got new handlebar grips. They weren't pink, and then I think I want to replace the pedals next to make it pink, but they kind of match the blues. So yeah, I haven't done much like aesthetically. I've just kind of hopped on it and had fun.
Is there anything you want to change in it, or are you stoked on how it is?
Yeah, I mean, I know that the fork's gonna go eventually, so like if I can get a fork for it, I'd like to keep the bike, like at least the frame going. But yeah, otherwise I kind of love it.
Otherwise, just ride it and have fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thanks heaps, Jordan. It's great meeting you and seeing this beauty, and have a great night. It's ladies' night tonight.
Yep,
Enjoy
is.
it.
Thanks so much.
Perfect. Thanks.
Awesome.
Have a great Crankworx.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, we found Brennan and his 09 Kona stab. Mate, tell us a story. How did you get it?
So I got a job up at Stevens Pass this summer up in Washington. So I'm like, well, I don't really want to thrash around my Norco fluid. So drove out to Seattle, picked this up for $700, and you know, fun bike.
What a steal. And what have you had to do to it since you got it?
When I first got it, I took it up to Silver Mountain in Idaho, and the tire was a little dry rotted. Did this nice 90-degree hip, tire complete right off the bead. The tube folded right here, almost went over the handlebars, so I had to buy a new tire.
Yep.
New brake pads, you know, different handlebars. The stock 710 with 50 mil rise felt a little ridiculous.
Okay, and then let's get specific here. You've done your research on this bike.
I tried to.
Why this bike?
Well, it was cheap. That was the one that made me, but also the geometry is super aggressive. Like I think in its steepest position, I think that it's about like a 64-degree head angle. You know, wheelbase is like 12-14, which I know is, by modern standards isn't that bad, but that's closer to like a 2013, 2014 bike maybe.
Yeah.
So like, that's pretty good for how old it is. So I was like, well, the geometry seems awesome. So, you know, this will fit my riding style much better than other 09 bikes with like an 68-degree head angle or something like that.
And then tell me about these little rub marks on the rear stator.
Yeah, when I first got it, I'm like, wow, this seat's really high. So I took off the coil and then set it down. I'm like, oh, it's not even close to hitting the tire. So I cut the seat tube. Didn't realize that before the saddle doesn't hit the rear tire, this hits it first because it's so, that linkage is so far out there. So that was a little bit of a mistake on my part. Yeah, well, this is a very special you know, derailleur. It's threaded on directly to it. No derailleur hanger, because, you know, that's overrated. You know, doesn't even have a clutch. I ended up smashing it today, unfortunately, so trying to find a replacement for this is gonna be fun.
So you've come to Whistler for a couple of days, smashed a derailleur, had a flat tire, what else?
Oh yeah, no, that ended up wrapping around my cassette and locking up my rear wheel. You know, that's just casual fun. Like I didn't think that was possible, but you know, you learn new things.
But how good's the floating brake?
Oh, the floating brake's great. You know, it rubs permanently. I don't think you can ever get it not to rub.
So what's your favorite part about this Kona step? Put you on
Probably the forks, because, you know, they don't make these in the open bath. Like, you know, it's a classic.
We totally haven't even talked about them.
Yeah, the coil. They're a little too stiff for me, you know, trying to find parts and tunability for an old Marzocchi fork is close to impossible, but, you know, make it work. It still works. I get majority of the travel.
What's the next thing you're going to do this bike?
Well, since I smashed this thing, trying to find maybe a chain tensioner to make it work so I don't have to be totally chainless. I know there's some wild guys out there that love being chainless. I'm not necessarily a super fan of it, but you know, still fun. Pushes you to ride faster and actually carry speed through sections instead of relying on pedaling.
Oh, Brendan, you're an absolute beauty. I love the Fabian Burrell special, and look, we'll let you get back to that lift line because the mechanic can wait till the lift's closed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Sweet, mate. Enjoy Crankworx.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks, mate. Well, there you have it. There's some classics, but sorry, it's 6 p.m. and I'm gonna go do some lats tonight. Make sure you stay tuned because we've got videos coming every day from Crankworx Whistler. Cheers for watching.